boys and girls. I hope that you had a great weekend and that you're ready to start a brand new week of learning. For this week in reading, we are going to be using an informational text. So we will be learning about a topic. Last week, at the end of the week, we started learning about vertebrates and invertebrates. And this week, we're going to continue learning about the different types of vertebrates there are and the different animals that fall into those categories. We're going to start today's lesson with looking at specific vertebrates like reptiles, amphibians, and others. So before we get into our text for today, we want to remember what it is we are looking for when we're reading informational text. When we're reading informational text, boys and girls, we are reading to learn more about a certain topic. For this instance, and this week, we're going to be learning about vertebrates and invertebrates and the different animals that are those types. We also want to make sure that when we're paying close attention to what it is that the author wants us to learn, we're paying attention to the graphics that are included in our text. So we may have photographs, we may have diagrams, we may have graphs, we may have actual key text box, and those are our nonfiction features. So we want to make sure we pay attention to everything that the author includes so that we understand and think about it from the author's perspective. For today's lesson, we're going to focus specifically on going back into the text and learning about our new academic domain-specific vocabulary that relates to our topic of vertebrates and invertebrates. So today, we're going to look at our Inspire Science text, and this one is pages 40, 41, and 42. So we're going to read a couple of the pages together so that we can get an idea of what it is we'll be learning for this week about our topic of vertebrates. So vertebrates, reptiles. Reptiles are the vertebrates most closely related to birds. Like birds, they have lungs. Also like birds, most reptiles lay eggs. However, some such as the boa constrictor give birth to live young. Reptiles do not have wings or feathers, and they cannot fly. Almost all reptiles are cold-blooded. Their body temperature changes with the temperature of the environment. Some reptiles live on land and some live in water. Many reptiles, such as crocodiles, are comfortable both on land and in water. They are comfortable because reptiles are covered in waterproof scales that keep their bodies from drying out. Common reptiles include turtles, crocodiles, alligators, snakes, and lizards. Vertebrates. Amphibians. Amphibians are vertebrates that live part of their lives in water and part on land. Most amphibians start life underwater. A young amphibian that lives in the water is called a larva or tadpole. Larvae have gills and look like fish. As they get older, amphibians go through metamorphosis, which means their body's form changes. Some amphibians, such as newts, grow legs. Others, such as caecilians, like worms or snakes. When they live on land, amphibians breathe air. Most, but not all amphibians grow lungs. Some amphibians can also breathe through their skins. Like most reptiles, amphibians are cold-blooded. Unlike reptiles, amphibians do not have scales. Frogs, toads, salamanders, caecilians, and newts are all amphibians. Now, boys and girls, this right here is a caecilian, and it looks like a snake. All right, it's similar to that, and a salamander are ones that have the little spots. And we have frogs. So we actually have quite, here in Florida, we have a lot of reptiles and amphibians that we can be familiar with because we maybe have seen them or come across them. So I also want to note, boys and girls, that in our text this week, or any nonfiction text, it's very important that we pay close attention to those nonfiction features. I see here that we have photographs or real pictures of the different types of reptiles and amphibians, as well as over here how to make some connections with things. It also gives us a fact checker over here and tells us about cold-blooded. And it doesn't mean that the reptiles are cold, it means that they get their body heat from their environment. In hot environments, reptiles can have warmer blood than mammals. So we want to make sure that as we're reading nonfiction text, we read everything on the page, not just the text that's within. All right, so today we're going to be focusing our question, and we're going to be using the relax strategy, and we're going to be looking at going back into the text to reference. So we want to make sure we read through the question and the answer choices. So let's look up here at our question. Which of the following is not an example of a reptile? A, snakes, B, turtles, C, frogs, or D, alligators? Now, remember, with our relax strategy, we're not going to just guess or just go straight to the answer, even if we think we know it. We want to make sure we examine the question, what it is asking, and we need to know where we're going back into the text to help us answer this. So first of all, let's examine the question. Which of the following is not an example of a reptile? So if you notice, I underlined not because I want to make sure that I'm looking for the opposite. Like, I want to know what's not an example of what type? A reptile. So I'm looking for something that is not a reptile. So I'm going to go where back into the text? Am I going to go into reptiles or amphibians? That's right. I'm going to go into reptiles. So let's go back and we're going to skim. I'm not going to read all of it. I'm going to skim and skim because I'm looking for an example that is not a reptile. Reptiles are the vertebrates most closely related to birds. Okay, however, all reptiles are cold-blooded. Their body temperature can change. Common reptiles include turtles, crocodiles, alligators, snakes, and lizards. So let's go through and check our answers and let's see, because I'm looking for what is not a reptile. So include turtles. Do I see turtles on there? I do. So it's not B because that is a reptile and I'm looking for one that is not. Crocodiles. Do I have that one on there? Nope. Alligators. There's that one. Remember, I'm looking for something that is not. Let's see. Snakes and frogs are left. So common reptiles include turtles, crocodiles, alligators, snakes, and lizards. So boys and girls, what is my only answer choice left? C, frogs. And that's not a reptile. And if you remember, if I go back and check, a frog is actually what type of vertebrae? That's right, it's an amphibian. So frogs and reptiles are vertebrates, but they're specific types. So these are all reptiles and a frog is an amphibian. So what I would like for you to do with someone at home is I want you to think about what's another vertebrae that could be an amphibian. So think about what we read, think about some of the pictures that you saw today, some of the things that you heard me say, and tell someone in your house or your teacher what type of vertebrae is an amphibian. All right, boys and girls, so we will continue working with this text and the different types of vertebraes this week for our reading. I hope that you have a great week to come, and I'll see you at our next lesson. Have a great rest of your day, boys and girls. Bye-bye.